Welcome back to the Couch Command. My name is Keith Hayward. I am the host of the Couch Command podcast, hosted on popgeeks.com. The intro music is from the Starcadian. You should look up his music. He's fantastic. The person who does a production is Brian Klein, the Sonic Clang. With me today, I have Matt, the Doc Falconer.
Hey, what's happening?
Also today, I have MJ.
To quote the late 20th century musical greats that were the Bloodhound Gang, it's the inevitable return of the Great White Dope. Thanks for having me.
Whoa, nice one. Newcomer today, I have Jason.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, and also working the helm fantastically as usually, I have Voidcat.
Thank you very much. I'm always happy to be here. Hello, everyone. We're here to talk about The Last of Us today. So I will be starting with the question I always start with. How did you guys come upon this show? How do you know about it? Like, how close is it to your heart, etc.? I'll go first. I am a gamer amongst gamers. So even though I never played The Last of Us, several of my friends have played The Last of Us. I already knew how it ended when we started the show, and some details like what is a clicker that I already knew, but like how Ellie got bitten that I didn't know. So I came to it pretty fresh, but knowing the ending already, so having the ability to kind of see what was coming. How about you, MJ?
I, like you, have never played the game. I'm not as much of a gamer, but I happened to randomly catch the trailer and everybody getting so excited about it. I'm like, okay, it's got Pedro Pascal. What the hell? Might as well check it out. And I started watching it, and lo and behold, amazing.
Nice. Jason?
Yeah, so I remember before the game came out, some of the pre-launch hype videos that they were releasing got me really interested in the game. And I didn't play it at launch, but a couple years, maybe a year or two afterwards, my roommate had the remastered edition of the first game, and I played it, and it completely floored me. I was just completely taken by it. And so when the show was announced, I was obviously incredibly excited. So I'm very excited to have this conversation. Matt, how about you?
Wait, hold on. Follow-up question. Did you play the second game?
Yeah, so I played the first game. I played the DLC, Left Behind. And I did play the second game when it was released. I was so incredibly excited about it.
Cool.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. I played the first couple of scenes of the game, and I am a gamer, and for some reason I really don't tend to get into big narrative games. I more stick to things like roguelites and fighting games and stuff like that. So yeah, I never really got into the game. Heard many good things about it, many of them from Jason actually. And then I've heard the stuff about the show coming out. And that Pedro Pascal's in it, that Bella Ramsey's in it, and it looked really good. And so I was excited about it. And then like we've been saying, lo and behold, wow, amazing show. And it became, the first for me must-watch TV since pre-season 7 Game of Thrones.
Yeah. And what a career Bella Ramsey is going to have.
Yeah.
Keith, do I remember correctly that we kind of talked you into watching this?
Kind of, sort of. My experience is I'm a gamer, but I've been more into, for the longest time, the culture of gaming and news. And so I've been following all the news, ripples that the game has been giving out since it came out. But I'm a dedicated Xbot, so I turn my nose up at anything that's PlayStation exclusive. I'm sure it was fantastic.
I was
easy on the ponies there, dude. Come on.
But the ripples from the game were just oh my god, and people just falling to their knees and going, whoa, something must have happened. And then then the news of Last of Us 2 hit. And it started, culture wars again, and I don't like playing that game in my geekness. So I just kind of stayed away. And then, I'm feeling that there might be more culture wars to the TV show. That's why I stayed away from it. But yeah, during the podcast, and then other YouTubers and whatnot, everybody's just saying, "Oh my god, that was so fucking good! Oh my god, that was so good!" And then just one night, instead of watching a movie with a friend, we had a limited amount of time, so I was like, "Here, let's check out this pilot." And then we watched 4 episodes, and we were like, "Holy shit, that was good!" So yeah, I was like, I was looking to talk about it. It seems like there's much to talk about, especially since one of us didn't like the ending. MJ. Dun, dun, dun.
I rewatched it last night. I've softened a little bit on it, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we start on just talking about the show in general, can you tell me, spoiler free, what it is that you didn't like? Like about it, like did it feel too abrupt to you, or?
You're referring to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, for some reason at first glance, just the logic of it just seemed to rub me the wrong way. There was a couple of things that Marlene said that I just kind of missed for whatever reason, and that kind of eased some of the logic of the episode. But
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you know that ending was coming when you watched it?
No, I didn't do what I usually do and read ahead through Wikipedia and all that stuff. Unfortunately, I've done that for The Last of Us 2, but
you're a read ahead kind of person. Do you, when you read a book, do you read the last page?
No. I only do it with TV shows and movies. But
adaptations.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm weird.
All right.
So, but I managed to not do that for the entirety of season 1, so yay. But
I think that's kind of awesome, and that would make more sense why you didn't like the ending. Because like seeing, like for me, like knowing the ending is all about like how are they going to end up doing this. But if you just experience it like point blank, yeah, I'd be very put off by the ending, especially without like years to digest it.
That's the thing. I don't mind the ending. It's just the logic of some of the characters within the story getting to the ending that kind of got to me, and that's still kind of, a couple things still kind of rub me the wrong way. But
it is very easy to see the pieces when you already know what the final picture is. If you don't know what the final picture is, it's very easy to miss some of the, especially with like Marlene, for example, because you really you see her in the first episode. There's like that kind of sort of flashback that she's in with Ashley Birch returning, and then the last episode. And if you don't remember the first episode very well and you don't know what was already going on, then it's very much like, I'm sorry, what? Ma'am? Pardon me? But yeah, let's get into the meat of it. Keith.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the show overall? What's your favorite parts? What parts maybe didn't work quite as well for you?
I love being won over by things that I really don't like. Bella Ramsey will be that kind of person. She was another Jason Momoa experience where when I first saw Jason Momoa and her like just glances like in Game of Thrones, I just did not like that character. I know people thought, oh my god, it's so precious, but like
no, people just thought he was hot. Okay, that's not the same.
Oh no! For Jason Momoa, I was like, he thinks he's so cool. Nah, man, I'm not with this. Thank you, but no, thank you. But seeing him in action and in the story, just like, whoa, okay, he is cool and humble. Then there's Bella Ramsey in Game of Thrones, where I did not like her character's nonstop. I'm sick of your shit. Shtick that she was doing, and just like I'm already tired of this. I don't want to spend an entire series with this character.
She's the unexpected badass, man. Come on.
But
she did have a badass finale in the last season. I'll give her that. That was one of the few high points of the last season of Game of Thrones.
I was a hater to the end, but then
your hate.
I did. No, it wasn't. She didn't. It was seconds into this series.
Want to talk about Game of Thrones, please?
I can do that because there's a lot to talk about with House of the Dragon. That was fantastic. But it wasn't seconds into this TV show that she won me over. Like her acting chops are formidable, and I feel like I want to say, wow, she's got a massive career ahead of her. But then, like I said, that for the woman in Dread, and world does not always turn out how you think it's going to. But Bella Ramsey swept me away. She's fantastic. I enjoy Ellie, from the strength to vulnerability to being an asshole kid to being a kid that you want to protect. Her chemistry with Pedro Pascal fantastic. The story pacing, which was not letting things linger too long. You just get boom, boom, boom resolutions like at a good clip. There's a thing where I was noticing like characters showing up and getting killed really quickly, and I thought I wasn't going to like that, but the resolutions were just so good that 2 thumbs up. And I'm also familiar with. We won't spoil the next game, but a video I watched said like a lot of the things that people were like with in the game got improved upon in the TV show. So I'm very curious to see like can they do it again in season 2 with a game that a lot of people didn't like.
What did they approve upon in season 1?
Let's see. This like I'll say like apparently, and Jason, you can answer this. There wasn't an explanation for the outbreak.
Yeah, in the game, I think there might be a newspaper or something somewhere that you like, as you're walking around, you pick up notes and things that like alludes to sort of the explanation given in the show. I don't remember that at all. That's just like something I've read on the internet. But other than that, they don't even really talk about it whatsoever in the game. So that is definitely, yeah.
Well, from a video game perspective, that's not really like an important detail to make sure you include. It's definitely the sort of thing that they typically include in, exactly what you said, the notes that you find around.
I would say in a strong narrative game that is world built, like it is, like they always like in like Mass Effect, we got how they got into space in like most games like that. So that we don't get what the outbreak
like 30 seconds on that, and that's just so you make sure that that there was a war that Shepard was involved in.
But like I'm just saying, we got the basis of how we got into space. We don't in the game. There's no basis of how an outbreak happened. That's nuts to me. And the idea of how they did, like the idea of it, seems so natural. It seems like it was in the game. It seems like it would have been in the game. But it
could be something that just I as a player, missed and didn't.
Even if it's hidden, I'm impressed.
Put together as solidly as.
DLC or something.
It does take place also like 20 years after the outbreak, not like right at the outbreak. So like overall, in terms of the plot of the story, since it's about like how they deal post-apocalypse, like the apocalypse itself is not really the emphasis.
There's also the thing about the game, and like the podcast of the show talks about this a bunch. It's that in a game, you're bound to the perspective of the playable characters, and so the ways you convey information are different than in the show, where you can do these sorts of like, cuts to the '60s, cuts to Jakarta, that kind of thing.
Would Joel ever put it together that the outbreak was caused by a bunch of tainted weed?
But that's one of the things. We got the bookends of like that talk show talking about what if the Earth did warm up, and the how things work with the fungus, and we had our Stargate Atlantis cameo in there. So that was that, and then there's the one small part that I mentioned in a podcast or two ago that after taking down that one guard when he had the PTSD flashback and beat the guy to death, he took the assault rifle, but in the game you can't take the assault rifle. It's always important.
Come on, man, the weapon's right there. Just let me take it.
It's always important to me.
They're like, it's too early in the game. You can't have it. How dare you?
No.
But you can't pick up weapon drops in the game. Really?
Not at that point.
Just that particular guy, probably. Also, the whole I forget the name of the characters, but the bit with Nick Offerman.
Nolan Frank.
Yeah, that's like very barely a mention in the game, and it's like kind of a joke. The bit where where Ellie like finds the porn mag and then jokes about the pages being stuck together, that's from the game.
That's verbatim from the game. That's one of those things that if you go to YouTube and watch the videos, they're really fun because that scene is recreated very, very closely to.
And there are quite a few scenes that were. Since you played it, Jason, do you want to talk to us about that and how you feel about the show in general? Of course.
Yeah, definitely. So I think just my like broad general reaction is that as someone who is a fan of the game, this adaptation is is really exciting for me because there's elements of like seeing this thing that I experienced reinterpreted in this different medium, and it being like so closely run by Neil Druckmann, one of the creators. There's like these different just nuances to the characterizations of where like they dial certain things up, dial certain things back, and it all still totally works, but it feels fresh and new. And then the other side of it is that this story that I love, that like all these people that are never going to play the game, they're just not going to do it. Like like my dad, I get to like talk to my dad about The Last of Us now. That's so cool to me. And then my girlfriend and I watched it, and so this thing that I've literally talked to her about, she's just kind of nodding along like, oh yeah, this game. It's like, no, now we can actually experience it together and talk about it. So I'm a big fan of what they did. Yeah. So I'm actually really surprised by how faithful it is to the game, and that's acknowledging like some of these radical departures, like the Bill and Frank story is there's like a core of the same idea that's there, but the way it happens in terms of like plot and story is pretty radically different. But still, I mean, there's so many scenes that are just shot for shot, which is kind of incredible because in the game, you can take a camera and you can put it anywhere and you can do things that you can't do in real life. And there's some elements of the show that feel a little less intense because they can't do that, but there's other things that are just like verbatim that is really enjoyable. And also, Ellie's voice is so remarkably similar to the game that it actually like really kind of threw me off at first. I was sort of not skeptical at first. I just didn't see her in that role like matching like my vision of the game, and I was like very happy to be so incredibly wrong about that. So those are sort of my strongest reactions.
Awesome. Can I ask you briefly the scene with Henry and Sam, how close is that to the game?
So it's incredibly similar. There's a few differences in that like Sam as a character is a little different. He's a little younger. He's not deaf in the game. And there's these little knife twists that they do. Like, so in the game, if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since I played, it's been a couple of years, like they go to sleep and then Ellie wakes up and it happens kind of exactly how it happens. But the scene where he tells her he's infected and she's like, oh, like I can cure you. This is something I can do. That's not in the game. And so that happened in the show. I was like, oh, God, you're killing me. You're ripping my heart out.
No.
But after that, it plays out almost exactly. And this is one of those moments. There's moments in the show for me where it's not that like one medium did it better. It's just that the version of the game or the version of the show just sort of resonates with me more. And Ellie's Bella's like fear in that moment and like shock at what's happening, like when she looks at Joel after Sam's been killed, all that stuff, like it's shocking in the game, but it just hits harder when it's Bella's performance. Yeah.
In the game, she doesn't try to cure him. Like, can I hear really quickly how it went? So, like, because the beat seems so natural. Like, bit she tries to cure, the wait until the morning, and then surprise. Like, how does the surprise happen?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. In my memory, it's either Sam keeps it secret, like that classic sort of trope of like, oh, it's just him, or he tells her and they just sort of don't do anything. I think it's the first one, but my memory is kind of shaky on that a little bit. But her like, oh, I can cure you, and like cutting herself, like that's just not in the game at all.
Perfect tragedy.
Also, like a child's misunderstanding of how that sort of thing would work, where it's like, oh, well, something about me means that it doesn't work. So just if I just rub my blood on your blood, it that'll solve it. Right?
Yeah. I loved it, and I love this idea that like it's one of those changes that they make that really gets to like the core of the ending and like why they're doing all of this, and it just sort of reinforces that. And I love changes. There's a bunch of them in the show that just sort of double down on the story that they're telling. They're not changing things for any other reason than to just reinforce the story they're already telling,
Yeah, we'll talk about this later, but there's a very strong theme of like love in the face of tragedy in this, just in general. So I feel like even like the really small instances of like of showing love and like I'll try to cure you. This seems ridiculous, but like I can't not try.
It normally works in all science fiction, cartoons, and anime to do it like that. So I was a little bit hopeful that it might work, but I was like, nah, that's not how this world works. So, but I understand trying because normally in science fiction it works.
Yeah, it's like there's no way that suddenly Sam and Henry are going to be joining them for the rest of the adventure.
Yeah.
Like we knew that wasn't going to happen.
Oh, there's one additional change so in the game they do a lot of like hard cuts, and then you've jumped time, you've moved on to something else. So
you're in the middle of wilderness now.
Yeah, exactly. So like when Henry shoots himself, that's a hard cut, and the game's broken up into seasons. It's a hard cut, new season, new section, moved on. So you don't have the burial scene afterwards where she leaves the "I'm sorry" on Sam's grave, which that scene destroyed me, y'all. Just destroyed me.
It's almost like, Druckmann was keeping notes of, okay, how can I rip people's hearts out even harder than I did the first time around?
Well, I mean, a lot of that, I confess I've only seen the first couple of episodes of Chernobyl, but that definitely has that rhythm of like that creator added to Last of Us, where he's just like, okay, it's going to be really, really stressful, and in a moment when you think you can relax, it's actually going to be the emotional blow.
So you think it's more amazing than Druckmann?
I heard a good idea of that. Druckmann has been able to think about what he wrote for several years now and go, get all like the feedback and stuff. So this is like his second time to be able to help perfect what he said before. So it's like a second chance at making your masterpiece even better.
Everything that I've heard about the things that were changed, added, whatever to the show, were all value adds. Like basically almost everything was considered to be a value add. And frequently that's not the case, like you're going between two very different mediums. And so to actually just have all of these things simply enhance the story for this different medium is really extraordinary. And I think that, obviously having Druckmann on board was an aces move. I mean, that's what you got to do. You had the guy. He has the material, Yeah. So use him.
I fully agree. Well, since you're already on this, Matt, do you want to tell us how you felt about the season?
Yeah, for sure. Like I was saying before, like it was like one of the first shows in a long time that I actually was really interested in consistently tuning in and watching it. And I kind of going back to like a lot of the things that people were saying before is it like it was very, very good at pulling at heartstrings, but it wasn't doing it in a way that I felt like I was being pandered to.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it didn't feel like at any point it was like really talking down to us, and it was still doing a lot of like the zombie things, a lot of things like that y'all were talking about before. Like, okay, you got to try the blood rub and everything, but it's not going to work because any zombie situation is a tragedy. Everything's just a tragedy waiting to happen, And that the third episode with Bill and Frank was just heartbreak, devastating. That's how I would describe it. Devastating. And like I was just like, I cry actually very easily. Watching things. And so I was watching it with my girlfriend, and I was shaking like near the end. Like, this is way too much for me.
Well, just hang on for the 2-hour cut, man.
The 2-hour cut.
I don't think they're going to release that.
Originally, when they originally edited that episode down, it was 2 hours long, and Craig Mazin watched it, and he was crying so hard it physically hurt him.
Nice. Oh my god, that sounds very cathartic. I would like to do that.
I hate love stories. I loved this love story. That was so good.
Just beautiful.
And I gotta say, it part of the like pain of it was that like really they went out, they chose when to go out, and they went out together. Like, that's the best ending you're gonna get in this world.
Yes.
Like, it hurt, but it's the best you're gonna get.
They were both at peace. I loved that so much.
And they had like a long, good life together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even in the ridiculous moments where he was just like, burning people outside of our gate.
Yeah. They did it together.
No, I fully bought into the death of Bill. Got the beard. They both had beard till the end. When there was an attack and one of them got shot and was on the table, I was like, "Oh, so this is how it ends." That's
both got shot.
He survived. I was like, "Oh, okay, we're still going. We're still going.
But I think
you cannot kill Nick Offerman. It's impossible.
It is. He's made out of.
Only Nick Offerman can kill him.
Only Nick Offerman can kill him.
He's the only one strong enough.
Yep.
Yeah, just really quick, and I mean, obviously, this is the game itself is considered to be one of like the best narrative tales, period, out there, like outside of games and everything. But there were very few moments that, despite the fact that they were so faithful to the game, that felt like a video game, right? In a bad way. I mean,
okay. I was like, I would argue there are bits that I was like very clearly like, this is from the video game. I can tell where the like cutscene ends and where the like action begins.
Right.
Yeah,
I was fooled.
I agree.
There's like a part where like they're looking across that one. I guess I did see it. They're going to make that bridge cross from one building to the next, and like I found that's like directly from the game. I was very impressed with the flow.
Yeah, and then like I like I said, I played the first couple of hours, and so like the beginning scene in the car, in the truck or whatever, is like it looks just like the game. It's insane, and they did it so well that unless you played the game, you wouldn't think of it like that. But there's actually, this is the scene that like Jason and I and our girlfriends watched together, which was on episode 5 when the bloater showed up. And I remember Rachel took exception to that. Because it just felt very video gamey.
Okay.
Sorry,
when it showed up.
Which one's the bloater again?
The big oversized clicker.
Tank.
Yeah.
Can you describe like the area for me? Like, was this?
It's when they're on the outskirts of Kansas City when they were trying to escape with Sam and Henry, and the truck fell through the ground and all the infected came out of the ground, and that big oversized clicker came out. That's the bloater.
Okay, yeah. I see where she's coming from. That's fair. I mean, I feel like narratively that's a beautiful moment because it's really about the like over assuredness of what's her face? Teresa, no.
Kathleen.
Yes, what was her name?
Kathleen, yep.
Kathleen, yeah. Her overassuredness that she's just like, I have total control, I have won. And then like, no, you're in a zombie apocalypse, man. The zombies win every time.
Every time. And also just like her incredibly foolish decisions to constantly be going after Henry and Sam. She could have just let them go. She could have just let them go.
I mean, classic. Oh shoot, I forgot the word. You know, like that Greek word for when you have too much pride. Hubris. Classic
hubris. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Hubris comes before the fall, something like that, or pride. You know. So yeah, that was a big old fall. But yeah, the bloater thing was
something vengeance, something.
That's the one. But like, But like I listen, like don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed it, but still I can see it because like that was such the moment, like, here comes the big guy.
I remember having a
Boss fight.
conversation with Matt where we were talking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, it's in the game." And Matt was like, "Oh, is this one of those things where you like encounter it and it's a boss fight, and then later it's just a regular enemy?" And I was like, "Yeah, Matt gets it. Matt knows what's up."
Yeah, that's right.
Correct. Yeah.
So did you find it poetic that the bloater killed the Joel from the game?
Oh, that's right.
That was
Oh.
Tommy from the game.
Oh, Tommy, excuse me.
Oh.
You're right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
because
still
Joel
cool.
game was in episode 8, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah. So he shows up. The lady who voiced what
Ellie?
the heck? I'm forgetting words. Yes, the lady who voiced Ellie's in there as Ellie's mother, but also I believe the lady who plays Marlene is the original Marlene.
It was
Carl
Joel.
Dandridge. Yeah.
Joel is James in the Silver Lake episode 8.
Okay.
The guy who got
Yep.
the meat cleaver to the neck from Ellie.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
He.
cool.
Yep.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
really cool. They pulled in several of the voice actors.
You love to see it. You love
They
to see
did
it.
not have to do
Abby
that.
from Last of Us 2 is even in the finale too.
Oh, cool!
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yes, she was one of
Who's
the
she?
nurses.
Cool.
Oh.
Which she was in
Well
the
done.
original game, the voice of one of the nurses, because she did some like little bit parts throughout it.
Fantastic.
Wow.
So she reprised the role, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You could.
Well, you love to see that.
Yeah. Why couldn't this have been you, Halo? Why couldn't this have been you, Halo?
Well, okay.
You just had to bring up Bro Halo, didn't you?
just a little side jump. A reminder that Halo is one of those unfortunate series that were developed by somebody who had an idea that they really loved and that no studio would buy, and then all the studios were like, unless you put on the name of an existing franchise on it. So
Wait, are you guessing that, or is that the real thing?
no, that's the real thing.
Oh,
my God,
wow.
that's terrible.
That makes way more sense. And,
Yeah, so it wasn't meant to be a Halo series at all, and it just kind of became a Halo series because none of all of the production companies right now are trying to do the Marvel thing, so they're all just looking for pre-existing IPs.
Oh,
Isaac
On
gross.
top of that,
on-
on top of that, they brought Spielberg in for Halo, and it still turned out the way it did. So go figure.
Isaac in a previous podcast, like he was hurt. Like I didn't know people were that passionate about the story of Halo.
Yeah,
He was
Wait, Halo's
very-
story?
I love Halo, but
apparently
like
Halo has a very in-depth lore. Yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
he
man.
was so mad. I was like, well, how else are you gonna do Halo? He's like, no, you can't. And then like this is a perfect case of like how to do it right. Like having people who care and trusting the material. Like
Yeah, you gotta trust the material.
but see, that's the thing. You have to be trying to work from the material to begin with.
mm,
Right.
Yeah,
Resident
having
Evil
the
done.
story to tell.
Resident Evil.
You know.
All right, MJ, you're up. How do you feel?
It gave me flashbacks to the early days of The Walking Dead because I used to be a big fan of The Walking Dead, and this series reminded me of all the good episodes. And those, like I mentioned last time we all talked, it had about 70% less zombies than any Walking Dead episode. So, hooray! I really enjoyed the chemistry between Pascal and Ramsey. I thought they worked incredibly well together. I wasn't sure at first because it seemed like Ramsey was still trying to figure out her character the first few episodes, but after that, they really got it together. And unlike you guys, episode 3 was one of my favorites, but I was also a big fan of episode 5 with Sam and Henry, even though that was a heart-rending ending. In episode 8, I thought the showdown between David and Ellie was just epic. I thought
Maybe
those...
unlike us, you liked episode 3.
Yeah, wait.
It seemed like everybody agrees that episode 3 was like one of the best episodes of the entire season, so that's what I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
That was the Bill and Frank episode?
Yeah.
the Bill and Frank episode.
Yeah, we all loved it.
Yeah, we all
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
Whoa. We're all in agreement, right?
Yeah, I'm just
Please disagree.
You said unlike you guys, so it sounds like you.
Oh, that's
we
it.
didn't
Unlike-
like it.
I'm
and you
sorry.
You
did.
did. Oh, okay. There you have it.
Sorry, I don't know how
Okay,
that
like
one
us,
snuck in
like
there.
us.
So sorry.
We all
So
agree
sorry.
that it's an amazing episode. Okay.
Did I switch timelines?
Sorry.
Strangely
Words are
enough,
hard.
it has almost the lowest rating on IMDb. The only one with a lower rating is Left Behind, and I'm very confused. I blame I blame it on people who are just like, no, go back to the fighting.
I think that's exactly what's going on.
I
Yeah.
blame the Ben Shapiro's of the world for the low ratings, but anyway.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
also that.
there you go.
Wait,
La, 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 la.
three has the lowest rating.
The second lowest. So 3 has an 8.0, and then Left Behind, which is the one that is, the flashback to when she got bit in the mall, is 7.4.
I'll say that the quote unquote legitimate reason why people might not like it is the same reason why people didn't like this one episode that I love in Battlestar Galactica. It's like because it's its own solidified off story from. Because like lately, people when we watch these kind of movies, these kind of TV shows, they want the next thing that happens to the next character. That we're always just going one step forward for the characters that you're with, and people get mad at like self-contained stories that I love, and like Bill and Frank, we take a complete break from like the continuing story, but I like taking. It's like it wasn't even a break though, but anyway. A lot of people don't like self-contained.
However, I do want to point out that episode 1 has like 100,000 ratings, and then all of the episodes after that kind of have like less than that, between 50,000 and like 80,000, and then that one has 200,000 reviews.
Holy hell!
25% of them are 1 star. So there's definitely a lot of like homophobic hate bombing going on.
I think that's the gist of it. That's what happened. Yeah. God, those people. Fuck.
That's what it feels like. Just
to the 3% of people who don't like self-contained stories, I have words with you. You and I can have it outside, okay?
Oh, Keith,
look me up on Twitter.
Keith, I'm really proud of you.
All right. I like self-contained.
But like I don't want to say that absolutely everybody who didn't like that episode d't like it for that reason. You're right. There's other reasons someone might not have loved it. I personally disagree. Obviously, it really was my favorite. I have been obsessed for a long time with like tragedies where like people try really hard and it still ends in a tragedy. Like I've always really wanted for you anime nerds out there. Bleach has this like backstory where like 1,000 years ago, somebody tried to like take over, and then they got wiped out. Was that a fan fiction I wrote? Whatever. I've always been kind of in love with the idea of like a revolution attempting and trying their hardest, but then just like failing and getting wiped out. Like that's a really interesting tragedy to me. So this story was really cool, where it was like, they did their best. They made it really far, but in the end, like they chose to go out together, and that's a victory even in defeat. So.
Yes, I'm just going to interject really. That is absolutely one of my favorite things when you're talking about like any sort of like story being told, is when somebody's fighting for something as hard as they can, but they know damn well that they're going to lose.
And they just don't make it. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's the kind of thing that will have me literally bawling. It can be like an anime fight between two mechas or something.
The best story of that I've ever seen happen was in One Piece, so I highly recommend checking that out.
Oh my god, I know. I gotta catch up. Jesus.
One Piece, jeez. Oh, really? Oh, so another anime that happened with, and this was just a relatively quick fight, but it was in One Punch Man when Moomin Rider was fighting the Sea King.
Oh yes, that was
painful. Yeah.
He shows up and he just puts himself in front of. He's gonna die.
Yeah, there's no other heroes there. What is he gonna do? Not do anything?
Not gonna do. That's what most people would do. They'd run, but this dude with a bike is like, no, I'm gonna fight you.
Hell yeah, man.
Oh, destroyed me. Anyway, so yes, love it.
He's the real hero.
Yeah, Moomin Rider.
Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts, MJ?
I'm just hoping that as they go forward through the rest of the series, they don't run into the same traps they did with The Walking Dead, because after a while, The Walking Dead just became misery porn.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I think The Walking Dead has... Oh, no. I was going to say The Walking Dead has the issue where they're kind of making stuff up, but there were comics, so...
And there was another series where they had the creator of the original source material heavily involved with the series, and it still turned into that, so... I'm hoping Druckmann and Mason managed to avoid what Kirkman ran into on Walking Dead, because I loved The Walking Dead for their first 5 or 6 seasons, but then Negan showed up and everything went to shit.
Oof.
So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that watch Walking Dead all the way through to the end of season 11, and I don't know how it went to 11 seasons, but I don't see how this one. I don't see how The Last of Us is going to go beyond what they've already established for lore through Last of Us 2, and they've been talking that are going to potentially split up Last of Us 2 into the next 2 seasons. So,
wow.
I mean, if they manage to carry through the series to the 3 seasons and they keep the quality that they had in the first season, I'm all good with it.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said too for in the term of Negan, this thing that happens sometimes with TV shows where like a character will show up, become a fan favorite, and then they'll kind of like rebuild the story around that character.
Yeah.
But like the character itself is not that well written. It's just that people really like, sometimes.
Hi, Steve Urkel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with Negan in The Walking Dead is it just turned into a snuff film, especially the first episode. They had Negan show up and it's like, okay, he's just gonna have Negan beating everybody bloody. Okay, he's not exactly the same as the governor, because the governor was a thoroughly enthralling villain early on in The Walking Dead, and Negan was not even close to the governor.
I was
Just
saying,
a Groot.
I was going to say real quick, the benefit of having few episodes versus saying you have to fill up 20.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
as well.
Listen, like what we do have some advantages in the way that TV works now, that like for prestige TV, like the Walking Dead, they can make every episode just as long as they want and just as long as it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has a big impact on the quality that we're able to get. And especially with The Last of Us 2, they'll have the opportunity to, make that and then stop. Whereas some other TV shows are always trying to like go as long as they can. 11 seasons? Why?
Yeah. Jeez, and was that
Supernatural
all?
went how long?
More
I think
money.
17 for Supernatural?
I thought it was 11.
I wish it was.
Plus one spinoff so far.
Plus one spinoff so far. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Once again, if you're going to watch Supernatural, stop after season 5. That's the intended original story.
Correct. 15 seasons.
Oh my God.
Wow. But yeah, MJ, same. I actually fell off Walking Dead around the same time. Negan showed up, and I just lost interest.
Same.
For the
I think
fall
I
of
got,
Glenn,
like 1 or 2 more seasons.
I tapped out.
Yeah, the fall of Glenn. I was like, I really like that guy, and I do not approve. Right?
That's from the comics, though, isn't it?
That's where I stopped reading the comic too.
Oh, there you go.
And that guy was like, "Okay, I'm out." And then the TV show, "Okay, I'm out."
Right.
All right. My feelings on the TV show before we move on to general chaos. I loved it. I thought it was paced really well. I appreciated it. And you said the video game was based in seasons. You can kind of see that with the way that like every episode will just like jump them to a new location. I adored all of the extra scenes that they did that gave us a broader view on the world, because not only did it give us more information about like how they got there, or in the case of the Christopher Heyerdahl scene, the very, very first one in the first episode, that was just kind of like to set the tension rather than giving us information, but like a subtle dig to we're gonna get fucked over because of global warming in there.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated how it wasn't just extra information about the world, but also like that theme that I was talking about, love in the face of adversity, where like the scientist who was an epidemiologist, or no, she was a fungal specialist.
Mycologist, is that the?
Oh, mycologist. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Mycology. You were so right.
Nice.
She was like, "Oh, we're all gonna die. This is horrible. You need to bomb everyone. I'm gonna go be with my family until the last moment. I'm abandoning absolutely everything else that's going on in my life because there will be nothing else. So I will spend my last moments with my family. Absolutely goodbye."
Mm-hmm.
I'm enamored with that scene. I think everybody, almost everybody, did an absolutely fabulous job acting wise. I unfortunately was not sold on the actress that did Left Behind.
Storm Reed.
Storm Reed, yeah.
Played Riley. Yeah.
I didn't like her acting, I'm afraid. And that really took it away from me too, because that's such a strong scene for Ellie. Like that's her tragedy that causes her to be so like brittle and rude and untrusting of everyone when she first meets Joel. So that was a little disappointing for me. Plus, like moments of it were very much just like they felt like the behavior that they were doing was staging for like a play rather than like natural behavior for a character. Like when they stood up on the counter and started dancing, I was just like, what is this? And then the zombie came out of like the little like streamer door. I was like, this is silly.
Sure, the whole time I was watching them dance, I was waiting for the glass to break because they were dancing on top of a glass counter.
Same.
That's
Same.
fake, man.
That was very stressful. I was like, those children are gonna fall through the glass.
Even if you guys feel pretty safe in this place, like putting on masks that severely limit your vision seems like a weird decision, but okay.
You live in a world of active monsters. Please stop acting like you won't get attacked. That bothered me a little bit.
But they're living in the moment, man. They're being human. They're enjoying the moment. Come on. Don't take their joy away, Keith.
Schmaltzy.
I like how they went in early with a P.S. Ellie likes girls. Like there were a lot of moments where it was very clear that she was like already thinking of Riley in a romantic way. Mm-hmm. So, setting that up for season 2.
Yeah, I guess I read that the entire episode with Riley, that was a DLC to the first game.
It is. Yeah.
That's the DLC. Interesting.
Left behind. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm glad that they didn't end up showing us Ellie having to take Riley out. I think that would have really fucked me up.
I was surprised they didn't.
Me too. I kept going back to it.
I'm not sure how much I wanted that moment.
It's not the
but that's still the important bit. The important bit is that they choose to like go crazy together, right? Unfortunately, one of them does not.
I guess I wanted to see how that turned out. Like how she's expecting to hurt both of them to fall, but only one of them does. So like not the exploitive, I just want to see her shirt in the head. But like see them or her come to realization that she didn't turn, but her girlfriend did. That I kind of wanted to experience versus how they didn't show us the bodies of Bill and Frank. Applause. The taste in that episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Not showing that. Just going
to
the
not need to show that. Yeah.
There's an interesting.
They're just meat bags at that point. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, keep it. Give it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
No. Just that shot when they pull back through the window and don't show you the bodies. It's a really nice moment because the loading screen the start menu screen for the first game is the open window with the curtains blowing and the vines. So that's sort of their like kind of homage to that loading screen that has the beautiful like music playing on it. So that really like hit really, really well as a fan of the game. I was very like smiling, like ear to ear, like you guys,
great Easter egg.
You got me, guys. Like
you hear that, Halo? That could have been you.
Yeah.
You have to play around.
Watch out, Jason. I'm gonna start getting sniffly again. Damn it.
That was wow.
Anyway. Yeah, so I loved it. I loved all of the extra scenes, and I just got to give some points to Scott Shepherd, who played David, the cult leader, the cannibal cult leader, for holy shit, an amazing job.
Like, great job.
Oh my god! Like hit all of the beats of like at first he's gonna try to like control her, and then he's gonna charm her by being like, "Oh, we're equals," which is just disgusting to do with a teenager, by the way. Like just like. Very on the surface like nice, but then like you could feel the sliminess underneath, and it just like built and built until you reach the end where he's just like murdering actually. And you're
I love my bad guys being bad.
Out of control. That doesn't seem out of character for you. Jesus Christ, you're so slimy. Get away from me. And like Ellie had that total moment of like very strong violence, and you're like, yeah, that feels deserved. Yep. But also it sets up like there's a lot of moral ambiguity going on here, obviously. I mean, like that's one of the big themes in this post-apocalyptic world. Like the love that you have for an individual ends up being more important than kind of like the quote-unquote moral base in some ways, which is how you get to that end where the connection between Ellie and Joel is more important than hell the rest of the world. So
Where Joel goes all Captain Kirk on everybody. Yeah.
I would say Captain Kirk when he's doing some murdering. I think that's in a no.
The needs of the one, man. The needs of the one.
Kirk's not a murderer. We can have this Star Trek conversation at another time.
Wait. Are we talking about the end where he's going? Are we saying Captain Kirk at the end? Or okay, I thought we were talking about the cannibal village. So like that, it's not.
No, and Joel goes one man Rambo to save Ellie.
Yeah. Got you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's more John Wick than Captain Kirk, but
there you go.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to point out this beautiful line that I thought was very funny because Tommy's like this guy who keeps joining different army groups and who kind of like in his youth had that like American army kind of programming where he's like, so communist. And he's like, no, not communists. My God, not communists. Because he has the idea that like a lot of Americans have about communism. And then his girlfriend's like, or fiance at that point, she's like, no, this is a commune. We are literally
communism at work.
Communism actually is. And Tommy's like, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hyperventilating. That was
Shut up. Whoa.
Somewhere Joe McCarthy's hyperventilating.
Yeah. And I hear that originally when they reach that commune, it's much more Joel trying to get Ellie off his hands rather than like him really being concerned about, accidentally getting her killed. And if that is truly a change, and Jason can tell us, then what a tremendous and beautiful change.
Yeah, it is a little different. There's one major change is that like the town of Jackson you don't see in the original game. That whole section of the game is at the hydroelectric dam, and then the scene with Joel and Ellie when he's like, you sure as hell are my daughter. That scene is in the game, and that is like verbatim. I think there's like literally 2 line changes, but everything else is the same. But a lot of the other stuff around that is very fresh to the show, and the motivation is a little different there. It's a little Joel's entire personification in the show or in the game is a little. I don't want to use the word harder. But it's a little harder.
I think that's that's a good word for it.
Yeah, and so the way that plays out is a little different, and his motivation is a little less. He's a little less open about it. It's still clearly like, hey, I'm not willing to open this wound for myself, so somebody else has to do this. Like someone else take this responsibility. Like there's too much at stake for me emotionally here. But the like PTSD and that fear isn't as on the surface as it is in the show.
Nice. So, favorite bits?
All
Jason,
right.
you want to start us off?
Yeah, go for it.
Ooh, oh my God, favorite bits.
Oh, I mean, if Matt's ready.
Yeah, somebody.
Let me start us off with one. So this is actually in the episode with the mall, when they get to the arcade, and earlier we'd seen Ellie with her Mortal Kombat 2 poster, and they start playing all the arcade games, and then they have Mortal Kombat 2. And I just remember being that age and playing games in the arcade and how much fun I had with them and how awesome they were. And then I was just putting myself in her shoes where she's never been able to play them before. She just heard about them and knew it was awesome, but would probably never get the chance to play it. And then there it is. And she gets to play the game. And I was sort of like, oh, this is so great. I was living vicariously in that moment. But something funny, like, because my news feed is so nerdy. One of the articles that popped up was the button hits for the first fatality. I think the one that Melina did were incorrect.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm done with the show.
You nerd.
It's just unrealistic now.
Right, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, right, Keith, I'm taken out of it. I'm like,
yeah, just take me out of the story.
That's it. I'm done. I'm out. But
How
I read
can
that.
Focus?
I read that and I'm like, are you freaking serious? Like, come on, y'all.
You
give
looked it up.
give it a rest. And because I think that like and now somebody maybe will end up correcting me, it should be great. But I think it's like with that fatality, you just have to like hold the one button and like then do a controller move or something like that for a couple of seconds. But the problem with that, right?
Mhm.
So what they actually did is they did like 5 button presses, but the problem with like only holding one button is it's not satisfying because all you did was you heard it. And so if they just hit that one button and then the fatality happened, it would sound really crappy.
Not as
And so
cinematic.
it was not a cinematic, so they changed it so it would sound better. And then some nerds took exception to that.
That was the Boston mod, man.
I bet no podcast ever has brought this part up, and we are the only one doing this. So thank you, Matt. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Why do I feel ashamed?
No way.
I don't know. Why do you feel ashamed?
I am looking at you with my
listen to
side eye,
myself.
man. I am looking at you with my side eye.
Accuracy of Mortal Kombat depiction in The Last of Us. Checkbox checked.
Done. But apparently the second fatality they did was correct. They did it correct.
Oh
Yep.
wow. Someone was on point then.
All
was
right.
on point. Enough with this. So that was my first one, but somebody else, please. Yes.
I can go.
All right, Keith, what do you got?
The sets. I love the sets. Like and like to me, like I was just taking like how much time and money went into sets that looked like they spent like maybe a minute of screen time in. My favorite one was like there was like they're going through what looked like a former mall maybe, and there's like a giant pool they had to wade through, and
Oh,
it
the
seemed like
hotel?
there's the hotel.
Yeah.
To make that pool, it looked like a lot of time and work went into that, and they weren't in that for like any time. They just passed on through it, and it's just like that much time and work being put into every like beat, so that we can feel like it's a real world. Got so much respect for me. Like some of the times when they're like just walking past, broken down cars and whatnot. Well, the background is likely green screened beautifully so in a way that I couldn't tell easily. Just like how many TVs
Authentically
they fucked up.
desiccated.
Yeah, like, and then like it's like 3 seconds later they're gone. Like wow, like the work they put into the solid world building of like the sets was just fantastic.
Yeah. There's a real beauty in decay.
Mhm.
You know, it's why like so many people are into like urban exploration or going into abandoned places and doing photography and everything like that. And I agree with you, Keith. Like the work that they did on the backdrops and in the scenes and everything was exceptional, and it really kind of showed that beauty. A lot of the things it was falling apart, but it was still beautiful.
I feel that I must include in this the scene where they're making their way up a building that's in construction, and Ellie's like, "Oh my God, Joel, you got to see this!" He's like, "Oh crap!" Panics, and it's giraffes.
Giraffes.
A giraffe. Yeah.
Apparently, those are real giraffes, not CGI.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
They went to some zoo, right?
I'm sure there's some at the LA Zoo. Yeah.
That's
Actually, you might not even have to go to a zoo because there's exotic animal trainers specifically for movies and TV. So.
They built a like blue screen sort of background in the giraffe enclosure at whatever zoo that is, so that they could paint out everything but the giraffe and then put in the background. Yeah,
I was wondering how they did that. I was like, okay, so did they cart them all the way in? Was a truck involved? Is that CGI? Yeah, well done.
I think easier to move the actors to the giraffe than the giraffe to the actors.
Yep.
Listen to this. I just looked this up. Yes, the giraffe in HBO's Last of Us finale was real. His name is Nabo, and he lives in Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah.
Oh, right. They filmed on set. What am I talking about? I mean, on location.
Yeah.
As a game player, I love the beat just before the giraffe where with the ladder, because you spend 60% of the game moving ladders around, and they didn't do any of it in the show, but they kept that one. And so I was like, okay, great. Like this one little illusion where she just drops the ladder on him was great.
Oh my God, yeah. That's such a video game thing where you have like the accompanying character like climb in through a window higher up and then drop the ladder on you.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Jason, have you thought of one yet?
I'll give two things. One, just the music.
Mhm.
It's the same guy that did the game, and just that sound and that aesthetic is so in my head that like just hearing it takes me like emotionally to that place, and so having it throughout the show just really makes me so happy. So that's one. And then on a completely different note, I'll just talk about Ellie finding tampons and then being given a diva cup. Not in the game, but lovely little additions that
yeah, for real.
like a lesser show just I don't know, would just never occurred.
Would not have even brought it up.
Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
And then just seeing Ellie like discovering the Diva Cup, Bella Ramsey, like it was just very, very funny. So I enjoyed
Mhm.
that scene.
Heck yeah. And very thoughtful to give that to a child who's traveling around a lot, because like those tampons ain't gonna stay clean.
Yeah. That commune, they really got it figured out. They're really living.
They really do, yeah. David's group only wishes.
You guys still there?
Mhm.
Yep, can you hear me?
Oh, they suddenly dropped off.
All right, MJ, you're up. What's your favorite part?
Oh, favorite moments from the season? The first one was the ending of the first episode where they were playing Depeche Mode's Never Let Me Down Again. As they panned out to the stormy cityscape of Boston, I was like, that is so badass. That was amazing.
Mhm.
Other favorite moment, when Bill and Frank grew the strawberries and Bill was biting into the strawberry for the first time in 20 years. I thought that was cute.
God.
That little giggle that Nick Offerman let out, like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
That's just too cute. Ron
Best
Swanson's
loves-
making me think he's cute. What the
Yeah,
hell's going on?
Nick Offerman giggles are treasures for sure.
Though I still find it funny that so many people were amazed by Nick Offerman's dramatic range. I'm like, have none of you ever seen Alex Garland's Devs? Come on. It's a
They're
great
not.
show.
Yeah, you might like that one.
Yeah, Devs was unexpectedly amazing. But
That was very good.
let's see, another favorite moment. David versus Ellie when he had her locked up and he's slowly pulling the cult leader thing and putting his hand on the cage like, I'm trying to earn your trust, and then she grabs his hand, breaks his fingers, like grab the fucking keys, like, yes.
She had a one-liner about a
yeah.
broken finger that I can't remember. That was a good one-liner.
It's
My
Ellie.
name is Ellie.
Tell them
and I'm the
Ellie's
one
the
who just
girl that
broke your
broke your
freaking
fucking
finger.
Yeah.
Fucking
Not
great.
enough good one-liners in my world.
Well, the other one was when they got to Jackson and they had Rutina Wesley as Tommy's wife there. It's so great to see her back on TV because I thought her character just got drugged through the crap on True Blood, and it's always great to see that actress come back because that was the main reason I stopped watching True Blood. Is they kept abusing her character constantly and just
True
drove
Blood
me
abused
crazy.
itself by the end. That was everything went wrong in that show by Les, so, including her. That was
Not seen a single episode of True Blood.
It gets bad. It gets really bad. It's
vampire porn. That's really all it is. It's just vampire porn.
I mean, yeah. I'm aware of that. That's why I didn't watch any of it.
They had it right in the first season for the most part. Then they just like kept going and anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Like when I saw her, I winced at like flashbacks of like that show.
And then my other favorite moment was when Joel admitted how he got the scar on the side of his head and how they just kind of had the heart to heart and admitted what they had truly meant to each other. Like, yeah, that's well done.
The slow development from absolutely no trust in each other, like you are cargo and you're an asshole, to like we will not separate ever and we will kill anybody in our way, is
becoming a team.
Slow and beautiful.
Becoming a team was really beautiful.
Yeah, they really did it.
At the end of episode 8, when Joel calls Ellie baby girl, I was like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like another moment, like, oh, like okay, here's a cry. I got a cry coming on.
The look, so Bella throughout the series has these moments where she doesn't have lines. She just has these like reaction shots.
Yeah.
And her face, it happens time and time again. And that's one of the moments. The other is in the scene where Joel talks about, how he got his scar. And then after, Henry and Sam, just her face kills me every time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. She goes to this place, and I'm like, oh my god,
She's really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell stories with her face. She's a really good actress.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
actor.
I mean, yeah.
So are you gonna give her another chance in Game of Thrones, Keith?
No.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I had to ask one more time. All right,
leave that
I'll-
one.
like this.
I'm
Leave
sorry.
that
Never
one
watch Game of
behind.
Thrones again. Just never watch Game of Thrones again. It's fine.
Don't
Nobody
blame
needs to do
her.
that to
Blame
themselves.
the show.
Yeah. Nobody needs to do that to themselves. That's just, it's fine. Don't do it. Yeah. I think Bella's a tremendous actor. She's gonna go on to do great things. I don't know if I actually have a favorite bit. There's just like so many really good bits. I really like the thematic work. I've talked about it several times already because I'm slightly obsessed. It's fine.
There's that. I think we might be like one of the things I was worried about this podcast with was that problem we run into like when we're first doing Star Trek movies, where if it's a bad Star Trek movie, we can go for hours and there's just so much to talk about, and there's like, fuck this part, fuck this, I can't believe they did this and they got this wrong, and then
I
you go
still
into the
got
history.
other stuff to talk about. I just like I don't want to pick a favorite.
If it then like if it's good, like because like going into this like I don't have a lot of notes, and like if it's something good, like oh man that was so good, yeah that part was also so good too, yeah that was good, I love that part.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, complaining about things is awesome.
So much easier.
Fun.
So much easier. So much fun.
So much more fun. Yeah.
So much more fun. I mean, listen, I'm gonna go see a musical tomorrow with some friends, and I am hoping that it's bad.
So you can go up to drinks afterwards and complain about it.
Exactly.
I want to do a future podcast where like I know the movie's bad. Dragon Blade is going to be unexpected to hit people when they see it. But like yeah, like I'm trying to maybe like do at least a couple of we know it's bad and have some fun. But yeah.
All right. What's the musical you're going to see?
It's Bad Cinderella. Yeah, I think it's called Bad. Yeah, Bad. It's called Bad Cinderella. Yeah, I'm seeing it with my
Good luck with that.
with Catherine and our friend Ryan, Catherine, my fiance, and our buddy Ryan, who's getting tickets because he works for Stella Adler. But
oh damn!
Yeah,
congrats on your recent engagement there, buddy.
Oh, thank you,
man. Well done.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, but yeah, suppose it says Bad Cinderella review. The title warned us. Raised the New York Times.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's,
I hope it's horrible.
Back to Last of Us. Sorry, I keep. Yeah.
I did that. So a little bit that I thought was really funny in Last of Us that I just really adored was the Native American couple.
Oh, they were great.
First of all, I want to point out if I noticed my details correctly, those rabbits were not real rabbits. They were in fact, like a fake brace. Cool. Did not use any live animals for that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I really liked how they were like, yeah, it's basically no different for us. We always lived away from other people, and now we just still live away from other people. Like, it's the same. There's this one area where we don't go near because they keep killing people for some reason. But yeah, you know what? Pretty much the same for us. They're just like very casually like teasing them while like one of them has a gun held to her head. I really liked it.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. I like them too, and just completely totally chill, not put off at all by these folks. Like, all right, you do what you're gonna do. Yeah, I agree. They were great.
It's not gonna change whether I live or die if I freak out. So I'm comfortable in my rocking chair. Y'all can just chill out. Do you want some food?
So, are we at the point where we can talk about why MJ hated the ending of this show?
Yeah, let's do it. What's up, MJ?
I already mentioned I didn't hate it. Just things about it bugged me, man.
Yeah, but we want to hear details.
I think it'd be very interesting to find out like what it was like not knowing it's going to happen, and then like how does it make one actually feel if you don't know this is going to happen to you?
Right.
Yeah.
The
things didn't make
ultimate
sense, though.
ending of the episode, I could kind of understand because I mean they've been spending the entirety of the series building up that Joel will do whatever he can to save his second daughter because he doesn't want to go through what happened with him and Sarah again. He was going to be damned if he was going to have if anything was going to happen to Ellie. He couldn't take that loss again, especially after the ice melting for the entirety of the series up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
My problem with the episode was the autonomy that the Fireflies granted Ellie for them capturing her and Joel, and then Ellie being conscious when they did take him back to the base, and then them operating on her. It seemed kind of murky about whether or not they'd actually asked her permission, if she'd given her permission, if she had actually wanted them to essentially kill her so that they could harvest the cure out of her, and they didn't know for sure if it was going to be able to get the cure from her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When it comes to big sci-fi questions like that, when it comes to all of humanity's wiped out or be the bad guy, I go for be the bad guy. Like if it's it's wrong, but like if you could save all of humanity and save a child like the choice. I wouldn't say anything either. Like,
right.
I really loved the car crash of wrong choices at the end because humanity's at the brink and like you have to make the bad hard choices. Like, I loved it.
Right, and Marlene, what I missed the first time around was Marlene saying, "Yeah, we didn't tell her that that's what we have to do." So I was trying to figure out how they got her to go under willingly, or did they hold her down and put her out?
I didn't even think
when she woke up in the truck when Joel's driving away with her, she's like, "Drugs? What drugs?"
Yeah. So
she didn't know she'd been drugged. She didn't have any autonomy in the decision about whether or not they could kill her, essentially, even though she was fully committed to following through on the entire mission, because that's why they'd been suffering all this way, so they could try to get whatever was in her to create whatever they needed to create a vaccine.
Yeah.
Which she was wholly on board with.
The scene with Sam shows us that she thinks that whatever the cure is in her blood.
Right.
So she spent all this time going cross country to go to the Firefly Hospital because she thinks that they're going to have to do like a big mega blood draw. And then they're going to do science on her blood and figure out like if it's her white blood cells or whatever. So they do tell her that they need her as a test subject.
Yeah, she knew that.
But they don't tell her it's in her brain. So like they inject her with the needle and then it turns out to be anesthetic and they put her out.
Right.
And then they, go to do the thing and Joel shows up. So she does think it's willing because she doesn't know what the procedure actually is.
Right. Yeah. So exactly what MJ was saying there then, right? They're like, zero autonomy. And the thing is like seeing her the rest of the series, if they had given her the choice, she probably would have said yes.
Yep.
If they just sat her and Joel down and said, this is where we're at and this is what we think we want to do, that's like the least they could have done. Their actual choice was insane.
I don't agree. Like, if you're giving like if it's a 50, if they're thinking about saving all of humanity, so there's a future of children that can laugh and have joy again. Like, do you want to take the chance that she'll say no?
Say no?
Yeah,
I think from their perspective, it's like we can't accept a no.
Can't accept a no. That's fair.
Neither the Fireflies or Joel can risk. To in their point of view, they can't risk actually asking Ellie what she wants. The Fireflies can't risk her saying no, and Joel can't risk her saying yes.
And if there's any version of kindness, like it's like that when first kid shows up and like he's bitten and he's gonna die, they don't tell him, just so you know, you're gonna die anyway. Just like don't let the kid know and go forward in the darkness that you have to do. So
right.
That is a great point, Keith. I'm glad you brought that up. But also with the Firefly needs her to say no and Joel needs her to say yes, or vice versa. There's definitely that interesting point where he straight up lies to her about it because he thinks she might have said, "Okay, do it."
Yep.
And he can't deal with that possibly having been an option. subjectively obviously want to side with Joel and Ellie, but objectively, like, I think the Fireflies were doing, like what could be considered morally reprehensible, but really, like, in the end is probably the best choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting looking into the next season.
Unforgettable storytelling, Neil Druckmann, like doing that kind of ending, having like, I don't know any like zombie apocalypse that gave us that kind of like a dark outcome.
Mhm.
That was fantastic. I really liked that tragic lying and no good option ending. That was fantastic. That was
Right.
But yeah, kind of leading up to that point, I mean, the other thing that's kind of leading into the second season is the whole fabricated story that Joel concocted to try to explain it to Ellie and trying to make it, trying to cover every logical point that she could argue it. That was a shit story he came up with.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
others that didn't like you, and they decided they
There's
didn't. They
dozens.
couldn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't
Yeah, you
proceed
see
with
it in
trying
her
to get
face
anything out of
too.
you.
Where
then
she's
the
like,
robots attacked and
where she's like, I can't call
dragon,
you on
man.
this.
You
I
wouldn't
can't
believe the
call you on
dinosaurs.
this because if you admit you're lying, we're in big trouble. But like, I don't think it's true. There's no way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
It's
almost
their
like Joel wanted her to out him for lying. That he just said, "No, the hell with what the Fireflies are going to do. I saved you because I need to keep you." If he'd been thinking, he just said the Raiders had hit the hospital, period, and wouldn't have thrown any of the other crap.
Right. That's too much to keep track of. You
And,
got to keep your lives simple.
If I was Ellie, I'd been like, "Do you think I'm stupid? You think I
Yeah.
won't see through this? That's a shit story, Joel."
Well, I think she's deliberately choosing not to see through it because she knows that she can't stand what will happen if she does.
Right.
Mm.
That's what I love about the ambiguity of that ending, especially
Yeah.
like at the time in the game, because that is exactly how it ends. It's like she says, "Okay," cut to black, and we're done.
Cool.
And at the time, we didn't know that there was anything else. There was no sequel. Like, there wasn't a sequel for years, so that was the ending.
I'm
Mhm.
dying to ask a spoiler question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does she ever get to find out? Does she get to find out to make a choice ever in part 2?
I can't answer that for you. Like,
Okay.
like I can answer that for you, obviously, right? Like, I know what happens, but I just don't want to because
Yeah.
We support that.
yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, I
for
know.
me-
Like for the people listening who don't want to know, I'll ask later. But then I'm dying to find out. Like, she's smart. She's gonna figure this out at some point in time. So what does she do? Like, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to finding out what her decision is when she does find out.
Right.
yeah, I will spoil things for you privately.
Sounds good.
Let's say that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I didn't play it, but like with Last of Us Part 1, I know like some bits about it. I know some people really didn't like it because they grew so attached to the characters from the first one that they were incapable or unwilling to see how Joel's moral behavior was maybe not, good and nice. But as a continuing theme, like just the fact that in these situations there's no morally good choice and you're doing some messed up stuff maybe for the good, but like all choices are kind of not good actually. None of the choices are good is like very much a continuing thing. So I hope you enjoy that, Keith.
I heard good feedback about like how in part 2, I think we're not going to give it away, but like it was like the pacing and framing of how they did it that really threw a lot of people off. So that if you shifted some things around, maybe you could have pulled it off. Because like to me, like there's a point of no return for heroes. If you go too far, that is the end of your story. And like if you get killed, in the next story, that you made that happen to yourself.
Would you say that murdering everyone in that hospital in the season finale is going too far?
Joel has punched his ticket. That you're out, pal. Like I fully get why he did it. I was rooting for him because I love his character. I understand his heart, but you have chosen the bad ending, my friend.
Yeah, there was some beautiful horror watching that last episode where you're like, I absolutely understand why you're doing what you're doing. You like the relationship between you and Ellie is so strong, but also like, my God, you're in the wrong right now. You're in the. Oh my God, slow down.
You're out of there, pal. You're out.
I personally find that the most tragic character in this is actually Marlene, because she was doing some stuff that she did not want to do. Like
Mhm.
very much like breaking her own promises to make sure that things turned out okay for the world. And then, you know, the thing that
She-
happened to her happened.
She
Yeah.
she was as hurt as Joel was, but stronger
Yeah.
enough to be able to do what needed to be done.
Mhm, and Joel was
still,
not.
she went down. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. She
went
Marlene's like
down.
a wartime leader for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that the, you know, narratively, right? So we can have all this gray area that we're dealing with right now, you know, morally and whatnot. I think that like they made narratively all the right choices,
Mhm.
right?
Oh,
So we can
completely.
have these choices so it's dramatic, so we can and like Joel, it's kind of like, oh, you know, of course he had to save Ellie, but you know, oh my god, all that killing, you know. But that said, like the Fireflies, like their logic, unless you just accept it, was real screwed up. You know,
How so? Like, I
Well,
think it's straightforward and made sense.
well, it's just accepting that this thing is going to work. They actually didn't know that it was going to
The
work.
confidence that they
Ah.
were going to be successful.
But there is so much death in this post-apocalyptic world that is killing one 17-year-old worth it for the possibility that
Is
it
the
might
risk
work.
worth it? Right. Yeah.
Right,
That's
but
why Marlene was using that line of logic on Joel. You know, she's just gonna get old and potentially leave you behind anyway as kids get older. Can you really take
can't.
that chance?
You can't keep her safe forever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also like she is the one person who is immune to this thing, and they're going straight to brain surgery, right? Assuming that that is indeed where the cordyceps are in the brain or whatever like that. Like that, maybe there are other ways. Maybe they can like
Exactly.
do other tests on her, keep her there for a while, and then a little ways down the road, well, say, you know, it turns out you need
Can you
killing
guys
brain
wait
surgery.
a
You just
week?
Yeah, I do think
Just
do
use
think-
us for a year.
that
Can find
particular bit of we know it's in the brain and we have to do brain surgery is kind of like one of the conceits that the TV show
Right.
had to do
Mhm.
Right.
for it to be like she
Lock it
will
in.
die if we do the thing.
Exactly, and I agree with that completely. That like they had to do that, so it's dramatic and it's fun to watch. You know,
Yeah.
but like logically speaking, they do that, and is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work? Oh, now your one immune person is dead. Let's say it does work. How are they gonna distribute this thing? You know, they're a relatively small group of people. How are they gonna produce it? You know, like it just there's a lot of questions. Is all I'm saying, and
Sorry, now that you've put the idea in my head, I'm just thinking about how much it would have ruined the like momentum for them to just be sitting in the hospital and it's like, okay, now we're gonna do blood tests. Okay,
Yep.
that didn't work, so now we're gonna do tissue tests. Okay,
Yep.
that didn't work, so and like they're just there for months and they're like, okay, at this point we have to do brain surgery. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. You want to know? You want to know why they did it that way because it's narratively compelling.
Yes, it's
Exactly.
the kind of thing that, like, if you push at the edges, right, like it maybe doesn't hold up, but you don't want
But-
it any other way.
A
Like
story-
this
story
is
is
a
a-
version of the story. Yeah,
A story is
Dr.
a
House would have been a lot quicker if they just got Dr. House.
It's lupus. Everything was lupus.
it's
It turns
lupus.
out.
A story is a constructed song, and you have to like close those thematic loops, and you only have a certain amount
That's
of time to do it.
perfect. Yeah,
Exactly right.
That's perfect.
yeah. Speaking of interesting loops and Marlene, I really like the scene with Anna, where she's just like, I swear to God, I cut the cord before I got bitten. I swear. And Marlene's like, I don't believe you. And then 17 years later, when she finds Ellie and Ellie is like immune, she's like, I knew you were lying.
It's
Like-
like
So
yeah,
maybe
I don't
they
have
just
a
need
fully.
to find another pregnant woman, have her be bit just before she gives birth, and then they can recreate Ellie.
I was
Timing's
thinking that
critical.
actually.
Yeah,
Timing's
except now
critical,
Marlene's
yeah.
dead, so she can't tell anybody.
Yeah,
that's
nobody
what
else
happened.
He's the
Nobody
only
Thanks,
one that
Joel.
knew. Oh no,
So that does
that's a
beg the
loss.
question: after Ellie and Joel get to the hospital in Salt Lake City, does Marlene admit to Ellie that she was with her mom when she was born? I wonder if Marlene ever told Ellie who she actually was.
Is that in
That'd be
the
interesting, wouldn't it?
in the first episode? I can't remember.
She
talk about knowing her mom?
does tell Ellie that she's the one who put Ellie in the military school when she was a baby, but I don't remember if she mentions her mom.
I don't think she does.
Does she tell Ellie that her mom was her original voice actress? Because that would be like, wow. Like,
that would have been very good information for Ellie to know.
How would she
Meta
even,
mind blown.
How would she even take that?
It would have been really funny if they'd slipped in a line that's just like, you sound so.
Oh my god!
Just like your mother. Yeah,
just like your mother.
Everybody on screen looks at the camera for a second and goes back to the
wah wah wah.
Oh my god!
She has such a distinctive voice. Like in the very first moments of that episode, like hearing just her like vocalizing, it's like I felt like I was playing the game again. I was like, oh my god, what's happening?
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends who really loves Last of Us, we were watching Vox Machina, which Ashley Johnson is also in because she's part of Critical Role.
Nice.
For everybody who doesn't know, Critical Role is a group that does a Dungeons and Dragons kind of live show, and it's made up entirely of professional voice actors who you're not, like our friends because they're in the same kind of job and stuff. And Ashley plays a gnome paladin. No, a gnome cleric.
She's a cleric,
He started watching it and he's like, I can't. Because whenever I look at her, I just think of Ellie. Whenever I hear her talk, I'm just like, that's Ellie. What is happening in here?
That's funny.
So, she does have a very distinct voice. Yeah, I'm glad she was in it though.
Most of Critical Role, or a lot of Critical Role, is in Last of Us in the game. In parts here or there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
that doesn't shock me. They're all like up
All over
there.
the place.
It's all the same group, but yeah.
Yeah. That's what you have with voice actors a lot of the time. Like it's a relatively small group, and they're getting a lot of the roles.
It sure is. It's hard to break into.
Hard to break into. Someday.
So another thing that kind of struck me when I was rewatching the series this past week, Joel talking about how the cordyceps, the mutated cordyceps, had spread through contaminated wheat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to wonder after Outbreak Day if they figured out a way to screen cordyceps out of the remaining wheat supply so that it didn't spread continually that way? Or if there was still contaminated wheat with the cordyceps out there and people are so desperate for food that they're eating contaminated food and they had no idea, and that was further infecting the population.
Yep. I was wondering about that too.
That's
a very cool thought.
Because they figured out how to test for it. You have to assume that maybe they figured out how to test the wheat as well.
That's what I assume. Yeah, but they never actually addressed it in the show, so it was kind of like,
did that happen? Mind you, the place that was processing the infected wheat also got bombed. So
also, all wheat is local after 2 weeks. There are no more supply lines. So
oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
all wheat is local.
Of course, I also did appreciate the fact that they mentioned how gasoline breaks down over time. So, when Joel and Ellie are driving away from Bill and Frank's, and they're constantly stopping every hour to get new gas because gasoline's such low octane now, it's like water. I did appreciate that detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some really good world building. Just they really thought it through. So. Anything that y'all didn't super enjoy about it, or that you think could have been done better? Like, my one complaint really was, I'm sorry, Storm Reid. I just didn't like that.
People love her smile.
Yeah,
she has a great smile, but that's not what I was looking for in the scene.
No, I'm with you there. Actually, I noticed that as well, and it took me out of it. That particular performance, which made me sad. But but gosh, other than that, it's actually difficult for me to think of things that I didn't like. I think the last episode felt short, and I wanted more, which is never a bad thing.
Episode of the season.
Yeah, it did feel a little abrupt as well. It was like, okay, and now's the bit you've all been waiting for.
Right, and it's over. Bye. But I think that part of the so it was actually shorter, but then
And it was
also
also very video game.
yes. Yep. And it was like it was also one of the first times it felt like, okay, this feels like a video game where you've got the one character going through and killing a completely unreasonable number of other people.
Oh yeah, and the hilarious moments where like he would approach a door and they would start shooting through the door before he popped out. Like, you guys, don't do that.
I'm impressed how hard I'm trying to think of something I didn't like in that show. Like, I'm like thinking hard, like, maybe I didn't like some of the outfits they were wearing. No, I actually did like all of their outfits and jackets and vests and holsters and great weapon design and choices and acting and
yeah.
What about that one actor?
Well, what was it out there for was it Matt's fiance that was just like, this is too video game?
That was my girlfriend about the bloater. Yeah. But that was really the only moment for her that was like that. It was just the bloater. That was the only time she had that particular complaint.
Yeah, I didn't hear Catherine complain. I can go ask her if we need something. Catherine, hey, we need some help. We need something
What
bad.
bits did you not like?
I'll say it's not a complaint at all. It's just sort of like recognizing the difference in the medium. There's an element of the game that's like the pacing's different, obviously, because this relationship develops over more hours of gameplay where you can just sort of live with the characters a little bit more than having the story like progress through and then there's like certain scenes where the events play out in gameplay that have this like adrenaline quality because you have to do the game part, like the violence of the game and like the struggle of like, oh god, if I can get this guy, and then like, oh god, he killed me, and that doesn't translate to TV. So they're like the ending in particular, it's like this highly like adrenaline fueled like thing where you're like killing the guys and you gotta like save Ellie, and I did miss that part of the experience. It's not a criticism though, because it doesn't work as a TV show. Like the way they presented it in the TV show, like actually works better. And then the game part's there. If I want to replay the game, I can get that experience. But there were times where I was like, oh, it just hits a little different. It just feels a little different. So that's real.
Yeah. I think it is important in the last scene to have a little distance from the adrenaline fueling, so that you can have moments of like horror at what Joel is doing. Actually,
I completely agree. Yeah.
Oh, and actually, that kind of like segues into my question for you, Jason. Is that when you were in that scene and you're going to save Ellie, were you feeling that like, oh, this is a bit too much, or not?
Yeah. Okay. So I love that question because that question of like, was it right? Was it wrong? It's a huge debate ever since the game came out, and it's renewed now because of the show. In the moment, that never occurred to me. The magic trick of the game sort of worked such that like I remember after I beat the game, I had this like feeling that I'd never played a game before where obviously I was like interested in the story. I wanted to move the story forward, and I would have an emotional reaction to the show or to the game and the story that was being told. But in the original Last of Us, like that scene, for me, it felt like no, I need to make sure this doesn't happen to Ellie. Like it really like put me in Joel's shoes emotionally. So it wasn't even a question of was it right or wrong. Like I didn't that never crossed my mind until other people were having that conversation. I was gonna do this, and like you get into the room, in the operating room, and the doctor he grabs like the scalpel, and in the game you can shoot him, you can kill him with any of your weapons, or you can like walk up and like press triangle and Joel will like grab his arm and stab him with the scalpel or whatever, and it's just a really brutal moment. And I was just like, it just never occurred to me that maybe we shouldn't kill this guy, right? Like I was 100% on board, and I needed to do it because I had played this game, and I was just not going to let this thing happen.
Yeah. And
so yeah.
Oh, made.
Yeah, that is kind of what I would expect, and that is how I would react too. And I think that's how a lot of people probably did in the game. I was actually like just the other day reading about something. I think it's called ludonarrative dissonance.
Mhm.
And it's talking about how in these games you play these characters that you sympathize with and you really like. They brought up Nathan Drake from the I think Far Cry series. Is that right? Or no, it's
Nathan
not Far
Drake is Uncharted.
Uncharted, thank you. It's from Uncharted. And how he's like this charming, fun guy, and then you end up in these scenes in the game where you're killing dozens of people. And then he's just back to being like a normal, fun guy. And it's sort of like, oh, well, no big deal. I just killed 30 people, right?
I mean, they were coming after me, so.
I mean, right? Fair. But yeah, I think that's something that happens a lot in these games is sort of like, yeah, you have that dissonance between the thing that your character is doing and the character itself. Although maybe not so much with Joel. With Joel, I feel like that all kind of like, it kind of works.
There's a very interesting bit in Last of Us, in fact, where you have a moment like that where you come across, that group, or Joel comes across that group of like the 4 guys that are also looting that town, where he kills one of them and then he gets stabbed. From his perspective, it's self-defense, and then when they come down and hunt him later, from their perspective, it's like the perspective that we normally have when we play games, where we're like, well, this dude is going to fuck us up, so we got to take care of him first.
Right.
Where there's like the 2 competing sides that have the same point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they belong to a cult leader, so but yeah.
Yeah. By their very nature, yeah. If they're following around David, not great. That whole group was very depressing.
They were that was possibly the most depressing group.
Yeah.
Of a series about depressing groups.
Yeah, and they're all like lying to each other. Like the lady cooking the food is like, "What kind of meat is this?" And they're like, "Venison."
It's not starved to death meat.
Not
Do you want it or
meat,
not?
yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly normal meat, nothing to see here. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, I
Not
remember.
starved.
I had a weird moment when that episode was coming out, because when we were watching that episode, because one of the warnings was for nudity, and the episode ended, and I was like, "Where the heck was the nudity?" And then I realized that it was referring to the plastic wrapped headless bodies that were just hanging in like that one scene.
Oh my God.
You see them for like half a second. I was like, "Oh my!
yeah.
Oh right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The human bodies. Right? Okay, I guess that counts."
Yeah.
It shows that have cannibalism in them. I keep waiting for a scene where they're all sitting down eating dinner, and somebody stops and goes, "This tastes like Charlene. It's a little tangy."
Oh.
Ting.
I'm sorry. I have a thing for weird cannibalism humor. I blame Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Oh, Cannibal the
that's-
Musical.
That's
Indeed.
reasonable. I mean, that's how we deal with like bizarrely like unconscionable situations, anyways, with humor. So it's not that
Yep.
weird. And frankly, if I was stuck in the world of Last of Us, I think there would be points where I'd be like, "Well, cannibalism, it is, you guys." Like, it's
I mean,
not
you
I'm not starving to death.
Like,
You
we
can.
just
Anybody
need
else?
to make sure they're not infected first.
Got a better idea? All right. No, Denise, anything? Charlie? All right.
Cannibalism, it is.
Cannibalism it is.
and you better come up with an idea quick, because
Who wants to vote on
you're on
starving
the
to death?
list.
All right,
Fuck.
Steve, you can starve to death. Everybody else, we're good.
Enjoy your moral high ground. You're starving, Steve.
We're gonna eat you just as soon as you go.
Yeah,
See, cannibalism. It's a untapped well of humor. I don't
it
get
is. This is good stuff.
Enjoy your moral high ground, Steve.
We're terrible people, and I love it.
A couple more things that were different from the game to the TV show, from what I've been told by my friends who play the game. One, the cordyceps transmits through the air, as you would expect a fungus to normally transmit with the spores in the air, but they decided to go with the gross mouth root because you don't want your characters to be wearing masks all the time. And I think that's particularly funny considering Pedro Pascal's other magical child TV show.
I like to think it was Pedro Pascal being like, "No, I'm not doing it. No more masks."
Honestly,
Not again.
one of the reasons that I don't watch Mandalorian, like Keith is like, it's pretty good. One of the reasons that I don't watch Mandalorian is because I want to see the main actor's face.
You're supposed to project yourself into that
No,
character.
thank
That's
you.
why
No,
that you
thank
don't see the
you.
face.
No.
There's a reason for like snake eyes.
I agree. Actually,
I'm an actor. The thing that I care about is the performance of the actors. That frustrates me a lot. Okay.
But that's not the way.
I care more about
That's
the
not
story.
right.
So the
Right.
actors
That's
service
not
Oh
the
my god,
story.
Keith,
just saying.
That is not
don't, Keith, don't even talk to me about caring about story. Okay,
Ah,
don't pretend.
I'm just saying that I'm cool with the mask.
But also, season 1 to me felt very tropey, so meh. It's fine. Oh, the other thing was, I hear that Ellie has more faith in David initially because when they're waiting in that cabin, they do get attacked by infected, and they have to team up together to fight it off. Which they cut out, and I don't think it was necessary. Like we didn't need to trust David.
I actually forgot about that whole sequence of the game where you're doing all the all these infected that you and David sort of like team up to get away from. It's a pretty significant section, and I completely forgot about it until after the episode.
See, I guess it's not that important.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
I think it worked. Yeah.
I actually I disagree. I would say that'd be even more important so that we trust David even more. And then maybe that's one small gripe, which I don't actually have. I'm just trying to have a gripe.
You're like, I think it would have been interesting if they fought off infected.
That and like the lack of monster attacks. Like I don't want to have it being like having to be monster of the week every week. Like I don't need like an action beat all the time every episode. But there was a distinct lack of monsters in the background, even in the far background of me feeling like there's monsters to worry about. The world felt very empty of danger. There we go. Yeah,
they set it up with Tessa at the very beginning, where like there was that huge pile of them just like sleeping, and then they got all the way to the Capitol building, I think. And then like one of them wakes up, and then all of the ones like miles away wake up. So they had it set up, but then like we never used it again.
Yeah. Watch out for the roots you step on, and
a little more background pressure would have been.
There we go. Yes.
Right, because there are 3 whole episodes that didn't have any infected in them at all, and there are 3 other episodes that just had 1 infected show up the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking that a lot of the time too was that we're missing out on our zombies in this zombie TV show.
And the zombie the makeup was so well done.
It was beautiful. Well, it was hideous, and I hate mushrooms, so they're like, it was really extra gross for me.
They ran out of money.
Yeah, but I will say that like the episodes where nothing went wrong for a long time, like in the mall, and I think the episode right up until when they ran into that group, a 4 that stabbed Joel, like the tension just got worse and worse and worse throughout the entire episode because nothing was going wrong.
And you know it's coming. Something has to. Yeah.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yep. So that was very effective.
And maybe I did appreciate a little bit the lack of stress that I got to experience while watching the show, just to experience the characters. So, like, I am forcing myself to make a gripe, but maybe I did kind of appreciate it. Yeah,
A+, good job.
Hell yes. I'm dying to see, because like I want to see if they can do this again in season 2, where like it lost like a lot of the audience. Can they restructure it so that everybody goes, oh wait, now that works, and then like the people who don't know what's coming, like what their action is going to be. So very excited to see that.
I'm really excited to see how they adapt the second game. It's going to be more difficult. It's a harder thing to structurally like adapt, and so I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, but After seeing this, I have a lot of faith. I'm very excited.
I want to talk about why people's expectations for Last of Us Part 2 may have made Last of Us Part 2 less enjoyable for them based on how they typically expect a video game sequel to function. But I don't want to go into detail so that it surprises Keith.
It's hard to have that conversation without just opening the floodgates,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to that, I will say that I hope people... my hope is that it's set up as kind of like an anthology, at least initially. If you know what I mean. And I think that the extra scenes that we had, the ones with, the two scientists on the talk show, the one with the mycologist, and the one with Nick Offerman kind of set that so that people are more willing to see different points of view.
I think so. I see where you're going, and I think that's
Thanks.
true. Yeah.
To those who know, they know.
Yeah, I think that there's things that are already in the makeup of the second game, sort of how they sort of drilled in to find things in the first game. There's things in the second game that they can take similar approaches to, and sort of open up the world a little bit. That it will be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. And then the one spoiler I will give you, Keith, is it's good that Ellie picked up that guitar.
Oh, wait. Was there a guitar at the end of the first season?
Yeah, there's a bit where Joel's like, "Yeah, I'll teach you to play."
Oh shit! I didn't know.
It's one of the cute father-child moments.
I will say I know all the big beats that happen in the second game. I just don't know if she ever finds. Oh yeah. I know the shit that's about to go down. The things the only one thing I don't know is if she ever finds out about if she can cure the world or not. That's the only thing I don't know.
Okay, well, we're not going to tell you that. And also for the audience at home that doesn't know, I hope you're excited about season 2, and I don't want to tell you any more about it.
Cool.
Yeah, get hyped. Stay off the internet. It's full of spoilers.
All right. Well, I think that's what we got for Last of Us. Go watch it if you haven't.
All right. That brings us to the end of the episode, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah.
Rock on. Matt the Doc Falconer. Where can we find more of you on the internet?
Oh, let's see. You can always find me at Doc Falconer on both Instagram and Twitter, should I ever tweet again. And you can also find me. I am in my friend Sarah's podcast quite a bit. Gene No with 4 O's, I believe, about the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Nice.
Oh, that's so good.
No!
Yep.
MJ, where can you find more of you on the internet?
I'm on all the socials as MJ3342, and that's MJEMJAY.
All right.
Nice.
Jason,
you remembered this time.
Yes.
Jason, where can we find you on the internet?
I am on the socials at JZednick. That's JZEDNICK. My website's also jasonzednick.com. But I actually think that my web host just took it down, so I should probably find out if that still exists or not.
Voidcat, where can you find you on the internet?
You can find me at Voidcat Gaming on Twitch, Twitter, or Instagram. I don't post on Instagram much, but you can like message me if you want to. Obviously, you can find me here. Soon in the future, in the next 3 months, I hope you'll be able to find me on an ancillary channel of Couch Command.
Okay.
We'll
have to hide it.
Stargate. It's going to be very exciting.
Ooh, I
got plans.
I need to start watching. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I've only seen the movie. I've never seen any of the shows.
It's a fun well to go down. It's the other Star Trek.
I know. It's on my list.
But,
Max and I convinced Keith to watch it several years back, and then Keith was like, "Oh no!" And now we're working on that, and we'll be there soon.
Oh my god!
Drag me kicking and screaming. Yeah, I want to watch Stargate.
Yeah,
but I was wrong.
I'm on a bunch of other tabletop streaming shows where I play some very diverse characters, and they're all very ridiculous. For example, right now I have a very rules-oriented middle-aged guy and a super excitable, very gregarious fairy in a Dresden Files game. So if you're interested in watching any of my improv. You can find out what I'm doing stuff on Twitter. So twitter.com/voidcatgaming. I'll be there until Twitter dies.
All right, you can find me at Keith Hayward on Twitter, at Keith Justice on Instagram, and you can find this podcast and more on popgeeks.com. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. Geek out.
Bye.